It's going. And we're live.
All
Oh,
right. Hello, everybody. Sorry about the delay. And I really want to thank you guys for joining us. It's so great to be here. And Gloria, I'm so thankful that you're here, joining us and sharing your story.
thank
We love what we do at Pathwaves, and we're so glad that so many people can join us. So I guess Gloria just had a little technical difficulty. So let me just tell you real quickly about Pathwaves. We help people to get in charge of the nervous system, which helps them uh, conquer any kind of inner issues they've had. And so, Gloria, would you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure, absolutely. And again, thank you for those that tried logging on 30 minutes ago. We got another notification that one of Pathwaves pages, it wasn't logging on again, but at least in the other one it is. So those of you who are watching, thank you. And if not, this is also recording on the YouTube page of Pathways, so we can share it later. So how did I get to Pathways? Which, by the way, is one of the things I'm most grateful for. I mean, even in this year with all the craziness with the pandemic, for me being able to go through the program at Pathwaves, and more than anything for my daughter to be able to go through the program at Pathwaves, has been one of the biggest things in my life. And that's true. So how did I get here? Years ago, my friend Ana Margarita Martinez kept on talking to me about how Pathwaves had changed her life. And those of us who knew her before and know her now know that something quite dramatic happened in her life that brought her to the life that she has now, this radiant beauty and happiness and just so peaceful. She's such a joyful spirit to be around. So she kept on talking, of course, because there's no way to go through Pathwaves and not become an amazing ambassador of Pathways. And she kept on talking to me. Well, this year, my daughter, for the last year, she's been going through a difficult time emotionally. I think it kept on piling up for years, and this year it manifested in deep depression and anxiety and other emotional things. And we got to kind of like a breaking point in the midst of the pandemic, which I guess a lot of people have gone through, right? It's almost like the quarantine exacerbated whatever issues people had, mental health issues, or whatever it is that they're having. And you can tell us more about that, Jean. But it got to a point where I just, I needed help. And I called Ana Margarita and she set it up, and it was amazing. We went in, we did our first assessment, and we've been going through the program. We're actually halfway through the program. But I'm going to tell you, even after 3 sessions, my daughter, and this is a beautiful story to share, my daughter I caught her one day, we went to the pharmacy to get some things, and she was walking through the pharmacy aisle and she was dancing, to the music of the pharmacy and picking up the things. And I was stunned. I almost wanted to cry, because I couldn't believe that the same 19-year-old that used to criticize me for doing that, because I'm kind of the kind of person that would dance through the aisles of any supermarket or pharmacy. My 19-year-old that would be like, Mom, stop it. She was the one dancing. She was the one joyful going through the aisles. And I have never told her this. I've never told her that I cut that image, because it impacted me so much. I didn't want to ruin it, and I didn't want to, I don't know, put on the spot. But that to me showed me that what we were going through was something that was truly transformative, and it was amazing. So maybe now you can tell us a little bit of how Pathwaves came about, and what is it that you do that impacts our life so much. And then we'll talk about love, because I know we have lots of people here that want to hear about the love story.
Well, Pathwaves is the culmination of 12 years of work of myself and fellow professionals of integrating psychology and life coaching with neurofeedback. And what we've been able to do is use today's technology. It is 2020, so we do have the technology to be able to monitor how people's nervous systems are functioning. Our nervous systems run everything. And so what we've done is we've combined and integrated a defined protocol, very, very specific to helping people, get used to how they're functioning and then get in charge of influencing and then training, controlling their own nervous system to help it function the way they want it to. I like to say it's like teaching our bodies to think for us instead of think against us. One of the ways that we define anxiety is, your nervous system and your body getting in the way of how you want to be and how you want to live your life. And so what we do is help you get in alignment with how your nervous system is functioning, which starts with understanding, one, how did I get here? And so when people come in our office, the first thing we do is an assessment. And we're doing a quantitative electroencephalogram analysis combined with psychological correlation. And so by doing that, I can sit people down like I did with you, Gloria, and your daughter, and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a high level that your body is too worried to let you be happy. That there's too much fear and you're unconscious.
I'm sorry to interrupt you because we're getting messages about people saying about the crackling sound. I don't know if there's any way that we can move you somewhere, maybe where there's better Wi-Fi and there's no crackling sound.
Is that from the Wi-Fi, you think?
Probably.
All right. So then why don't you go ahead and tell people about your experience, how it started and the sessions you've been going through, and I'll move to another spot.
Well, you move around. Okay. Sounds good. So it's interesting what you were talking about, because I think that one of the things that we don't recognize is how much our nervous system is constantly talking to us and how much it affects pretty much everything we do, right? It affects, like, I am the type of person, and I guess it happens to almost everyone, right? We've talked about the butterfly, the feeling of the butterflies in your stomach, or when I get nervous or when I get tense and I don't even notice, or where I'm reacting to a situation, I feel it in the pit of my stomach. That's where I, kind of react. And I think one of the basic or the principal things that you end up learning when you go through the PATH program is this whole sense of feeling safe, right? Of understanding what it is to that you are safe, that we're really not under death threat, that we're really not under attack all the time, even though one way or another we've taught our system, or our system has picked up things that give us that, fight or flight or freeze kind of response, right?
That's perfect.
Are we better?
And, right. So when you came in, the clicking any better?
It's a little better, yes.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. Does it make
that
sense?
Sounds good now. Where you are now sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, now it doesn't sound good.
How's that?
Well, now we don't see you. It's a day of technical difficulties.
I'm back. All right, I'm going to try this. We're going to go out.
So it's interesting, but because I was sharing this with Jeff before. So I, before I went through Pathwaves, coming from TV production, if something would have happened like this before and we couldn't start, within the first second of 7 p.m., I would have been like panicking. Like, oh my gosh, we need to do this. And today I was like, no, it's not happening. And I'm more relaxed. I'm like, we will go on at 7:05. Oh, I guess we will go on at 7:10. And it's so interesting how there's a shift even in the way that you respond to little things, right? Which are little things, but before we made them so big and so overcompensating.
Well, that's, part of being able to live our lives is not having our nervous system think everything is a threat to our survival.
Mm-hmm.
So
how does that relate to relationships, Jeff? I mean, is this something that reflects in the way that we relate to people, that we relate to our family member, to our loved ones, to our partner? How does that whole system relate, or has to do with relationships?
So our nervous system is trying to help us survive. Really all about our animal instincts. Plus, it keeps track of everything that's ever happened to us to try to keep us safe. And so, the reality is our survival energies are too high, and they're getting involved with what people are saying to us, whether we're on time or not, whether nothing that has to do with survival, how people are looking at us, what's their tone in their voice. This has nothing to do with our survival, but our nervous system is keeping track of it, trying to keep us safe from it happening again. Well, how are you going to deal with that and still have a relationship?
It's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible. So, most of the people that come in, when I do that initial mind map and I do the analysis, they're running at about 85-90% survival energy, survival instinct. And so what we
Does
do is we
that
help.
push?
What?
Sorry, does if you are running at 80% or 90% survival instinct, does that push people away?
Right. It's your survival, and they're working on their survival. And so, we're fear-based pack animals, and they call our packs tribes. And so what happens is we kind of form our own little tribe, and then the other person in our relationship has their own little tribe, and we end up having tribal warfare instead of forming a tribe together.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a great opportunity in a relationship to develop the perfect tribe where we can work off each other, but our nervous system won't allow us to be vulnerable enough, to be open enough, to let ourselves be open to harm, because our nervous system feels like that harm will kill us. And how many times have you said that? This is killing me. This is killing me, right? And the reality is it's not. And so
But words are very powerful.
Yes. And as we lower that fear, that survival fear, we're able to replace it with love. And the first place we want to add love is love for ourselves. Because when we can fully accept and love ourselves, we're not trying to find people to fill the holes in us anymore. We can fill that up with that love and that acceptance. And then we can be open to have a relationship that doesn't have too much demand on the other person to behave a certain way to make us happy. So that allows for the relationship, for the both of us to work together to be able to thrive.
Hello?
Instead of survive. Hi, can you hear me now?
I lost you there for a second.
Okay, so what I was saying is that
let's repeat that last little bit.
So when we're in the survival state, we can't work as well together. It's always like I got to be in charge. I got to take care of this, or I don't accept myself fully, and I need help surviving, and I put too many demands on my partner to fill those holes so I can survive. Yeah. When we get and lower that need for help and filling the fear, and we replace it with love, we can move from survival into what I call thriving, where we can really live life. And we can work together from a place of love where we have nothing to lose, nothing vulnerable. And I teach everybody, hey, what are you doing right now? And what do you have that you're to worry about? You have absolutely, as far as survival is concerned, right now, absolutely nothing to worry about. So let's spend our time creating love and interacting and trying to help other people. After we're loving ourselves, we can then love them and try to love and nurture other people to enjoy life from a higher level of living. And it's really a fantastic way to be able to move forward.
Now, a lot of people think that understanding these concepts, it's good enough, right? Okay, I'm listening to G. Cole right now. I'm listening to Gloria. I'm going to start loving myself. I'm going to forget about being in survival mode, and et cetera, et cetera. But in reality, I feel that sometimes we're going up, like uphill. There are people, and myself included, that we have certain things that are holding us back from putting these concepts that we're learning and that we want to adopt to truly let them permeate, right? Be part of our being. So what makes a difference between going to a relationship seminar and learning relationship tips and going to Pathwaves and working on yourself so that we can create love with our partner?
Well, the reality is what we're working on, instead of the symptoms that are, we think are the problems, like, my wife that, leaves the top off the toothpaste. I'm not saying that about my wife, but just an example that I
Yeah.
hear. Um, you know, those kinds of things are symptoms of the problems, right? And so at Pathways, what we're addressing is the original cause of what is causing the problem. A simple, it's not simple. A lot of this starts actually in utero at our birth and in the first 6 months of our lives. Our initial reactive system really gets developed at a very strong level and continues to run for the rest of our lives by the time we're 6 months old. So
It's
that
amazing.
time period is vital, and we may not even know what happened. So we can't hey, let's think about it and talk about it. And your
So one
parents
of
may know, because it's really up to us and how we're reacting to the world. And so they may not know what set us off, what we thought was harming us, and those kind of things. So
that's one of the things that impacted me, so that all of you guys know, when you go to do this mind map, um, it's incredible because they put all these electrodes in your head, and you're doing all these breathing exercises and visualizing exercises while you're reading the brain waves, right?
right.
And you don't ask us one single personal question, nothing. And yet, once you're done doing this assessment, you can go back and say if there are any traumas from 0 to 8 years, from 8 to 25 in the last 10 years. And it is amazing to me to think that our brain, it's almost like a file cabinet, right? Everything is there and you can read it just from an hour of sitting there, um, doing these breathing exercises, doing math equations, reading a paragraph. I mean, it's very, very powerful. What are a few of the things that you even saw in me? And again, I'm being 100% vulnerable. I don't care. People can know that you saw in me that maybe the first time you met me, you didn't think that, or you reiterated, oh yeah, I knew that she was this way or that way.
Well, your nervous system drives you to keep performing and to
Hello.
keep attaining goals, which makes it difficult for you to just naturally be happy, because you're always focused on, hey, what do I got to be doing? What's the next goal? I got to do this. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, yay. And then you got to move on. What's the next goal? And so it makes it difficult to be naturally happy. I also noticed that you have sleep issues. And sleep is our rejuvenative process. So it's so vitally important for us to be able to feel safe. Safety is a big concern for our nervous system. And it's interesting because it constantly drives us to take action to be safe when we're already safe. So we're wasting all
Yeah.
this time, and in that process, we're pushing people away and we're causing interrelationship problems because we're trying to get safe when we're already safe. And so those are
And
two of the main issues that I kind of noticed.
I know. So one of the things that impacted me when I did my test was that I had performance. Can you hear me?
You're
Am I back on?
Yeah, you're back on.
Hello.
Performance anxiety.
G, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Okay. So one of the things that for me was impacting was the fact that I had a high percentage of performance anxiety. And you told me, you're like, oh, I didn't think that you would have that, because I look like I'm very confident or whatnot. And then the other thing that impacted me from my report is that I have a very high, or at least initially had a very high percentage of happiness quotient, right? So it was like 80%. So it was interesting to see that it's true. I had never noticed that I do have performance anxiety. I have just learned how to cope with it, right? How to get past it in whatever way I found to get past it. But at the same time, to think that because I felt like I was happy, I didn't think that I had all these other things to work on and all these other things that were keeping me from loving the person that I needed to love the most, which was myself.
That's right. That's the first place we have to start, is fix anything inside of us that we're not totally accepting of and loving. You know, it's amazing how many people show up for like a conversation like this, and there's just so much information from the past which is affecting the conversation in the present. You know, which also makes it difficult for relationships. You know, if I'm talking to you and I'm still trying to resolve issues that I had with my mother, well, you know, we get some kind of weird things going on, and I'll be angry for something that doesn't make any sense in this conversation. And so we want to resolve that inside so we can show up and be fully present.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in one of our sessions, I remember you asking me, how was my relationship with my father? And I think my father is on, my mom and my father are on. And I said, I have a great relationship with my dad. And you're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I actually have a very good relationship with my father. And then you're like, well, how is your relationship with God? And I go, well, I think I have a great relationship with God. And you're like, oh my gosh, poor guy, because you have such high standards. How is this gonna, match up? So it was such an interesting thing because I always told my dad that, he actually, not only my father and my mom, I feel that both of them have, because of their example, have put such high standards for us as to who our partner or how our partner should be. And it was an interesting concept to hear you say that and then kind of work through that, right? So that I can, deal with that part of my high standard request.
Well, and what's nice is that with the technology, you're able to get in a session and basically just totally remove it from what's happening inside of your nervous system today. So you get to feel lighter and happier and just more at peace. And it's just such a, so nice. And I mean, when you came in on the third day, I was like, wow, your skin is looking so much better, and we didn't do anything.
It is looking so much better. And it's funny because you would never think that doing neural therapy would improve the way your skin looks, but it does. It's a
you have more oxygen.
It helps you find love.
Right, you have more oxygen getting to your skin because you're not so tense on
we are learning to breathe.
That's right. And we're learning
to
treat
I lost
ourselves.
You again there for a second.
Oh, all right. Am I back? Hello? Are you there?
I lost you for a second. Yes.
All right, we're back.
Yes. Today is the day of technical difficulties, and I appreciate all of you who are watching and enduring with us this conversation with all the crackling and the going in and going out.
That's very
but it's important. I think it's important information, Jeff, because I think love is really everything, right? Like,
right.
God is love, and love is energy. Is such a powerful thing. I mean, I believe it moves the world. Well, I guess hate also moves. But love moves the world. Yeah. And I think that I lost you again.
Well, I'm here. I hear you.
Lost you again.
I hear you. Let me try. I don't know. I can't do any better than this. You got me now?
I feel that maybe I need to move also. So
maybe it's been you the whole time.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
I'm here. Yeah. Oh, now.
So, you back?
Oh, now I hear you perfect. Yes.
So this is the spot right here.
Okay, don't move from that spot.
I'm not moving. So the other part
I was
of
saying that,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the other part of it is the safety. It's so important for our nervous system to be able to feel safe. And a lot of us have no idea that our system doesn't feel safe. It's funny because I say to people all the time, your fear is really high. And, I have a lot of men go, I'm not scared of anything, And the reality is that the reason why they're so tough is that they're scared. So they have to be tough to be safe.
Yeah.
We just don't know that. It's an interesting dynamic. But first we have to get the safety before we can really
exercise our love. And that's part of, that's part of our love, is to entrain our system to know that we're already safe.
Correct. And I think that when we don't feel safe, it's also, like we were saying earlier, a way that we either push people away or we demand too much of people, because it's almost like we have this internal tug of war.
Yes. Yeah. We call it the love wolf and the fear wolf.
And what is that?
Well, there's an old story of the Cherokee brave and his grandchild, and they're watching their tribe and running around and yelling at each other and getting everything done. And the kid's looking at the grandfather and it's like, what's going on? The grandfather's like, look, they're having a lot of problems because inside of every one of us, there's the fear wolf and the love wolf. And they're kind of doing battle all day long. And that's why you see everybody running around battling. And the grandchild looks at the Cherokee brave and says, so which one wins?
Ooh.
And the grandfather says, the one you feed the most.
Wow. Powerful.
And that's a big part of what Pathwaves does, is help you feed the love wolf.
Feed the love wolf. And honestly, it has been my experience. So I went in thinking I'm going to accompany my daughter. She had the visible symptoms. And yet for me, it has been transformative. My friends are like, oh, don't say Pathwaves again. Like, don't even say that word anymore. Like, because it's just so amazing what it does for you. So as I shared yesterday, I had come out of a recent breakup. And, usually I handle breakups fine, like no problem. And this one affected me a little bit. And it was interesting how, coming from that emotional state, coupled with what was going on with my daughter, the quarantine, it was a lot of things that I was handling, a lot of changes, changing jobs. And I came in, and I think it was the perfect storm for me, because it was a perfect way to be able to go through the process like so genuinely, and accept it and embrace every coaching session, every other session that you're sitting in the chair and you're doing all the different exercises. And it has been extremely powerful. So when I tell people that I found love in this process, and I'm only in my 8th session, I still have a little bit to go, but it's because I was able to, I'm a very loving person as it is. The people that know me know I'm very loving, and I don't mind expressing my love. I'm very generous with my love to other people, but I was not generous with my love with myself. So as much as I had, I believed, a high self-esteem. Actually, it came out in your report. I had a pretty decent self-esteem. Not super high, not superhuman high, not yet, but pretty decent self-esteem. I was not very caring for myself, very loving of myself, in terms of giving time for myself, doing little things for myself, and just loving myself, accepting myself, and kind of letting go of many things. And it was a huge thing for me when you taught me the whole thing about the love trinity. And it was such an aha moment that I was finally able to go into every session loving the person. I mean, aside from obviously my love for God, because that comes first, and it will always come first, but going into every session, loving myself the most and working through it. So, because if I don't love myself, what can I give to others? And I'm thinking that now that I am kind of beefing that up and I feel so much better, I wonder how much more I'm going to be able to give to others too, how much good I'm going to be able to do in this world. So I am beyond grateful for you going through whatever hardships you've had to go through to be able to put together this program. Because, like I tell my friends, forget about buying the next expensive purse, forget about going to the next excursion. Gift this to yourself. It is the biggest thing that anyone can do for themselves and for their loved ones. May God allow me to help all my family members go through this program, because this has been so transformative in more ways than I can explain. I'm going to share one more thing, and then I'll let you talk a little bit. I went through a horrible divorce 15 years ago. You saw the trauma in both my daughter's assessment and my assessment, and you even told us, you're like, ladies, 15 years is a long time to carry all this stuff, and it is, but you don't know what to do. I mean, my daughter has been in therapy for all this time, and it really hasn't helped, and you can tell us why. But even though you work through things, you're alone, right? You're doing it on your own. So I felt that, again, my relationship with God has helped me lots to go through that. I think that if I didn't, I would be a bitter, nasty woman. But aside from that, there was just so much more. And that's why I'm so grateful for this program. But all this to say that those 15 years and that traumatic experience caused me to be ridiculously fearful of picking up my mail and opening my mail. Because every time at that moment, dramatic moment in my life, that I would go to the mail, it was a deposition or a letter from the lawyer or a bill or whatever. And it was so bad that I didn't realize that I had picked up this habit of letting the mail sit in the mailbox for weeks and weeks. I would sometimes tell my daughter to go pick up the mail, and for me to see an envelope, and sometimes the envelopes would sit there. So I picked them up and they would sit there for another few weeks until I decided to open them. And people would think this is ridiculous. I mean, it's so ridiculous that you would not pick your mail. Like, it just causes more trouble because then you're late at doing this or whatever. But for me, was such a thing. And it used to give me the most horrible stomach ache. Like, I used to go on this unsafe mode, like big time. All the alarms would go off. And I just, took it out on the poor mail. It could be even a check in the mail, but I was just fearful of picking it up and fearful of opening. And for me, I guess one of the proof, like the real proof that this was truly working in my life, was when a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, oh, let me go get the mail. And I went, I picked up the mail, I brought it to my house. And when I put it on the table, I went, oh, I picked up the mail happily. No stress, no anxiety, no nothing. And then I opened it, I went through it, I filed it. And it was the most amazing thing. I mean, I cannot, and I know that it might sound stupid and I know that it might sound ridiculous, but this was a big, big thing for me. It was something that had me bound and that was affecting my life. So I'm sure that like this, there are many other stories that you have heard, but please explain to us why this even happens. Like, why is it that these changes happen, things that I wasn't even working on? They just happened.
Well, first of all, we get you ready to make change.
Okay.
And so our nervous system doesn't like it. In fact, a lot of people, when you start to help them change, if they didn't go through our process, will get very, very resistant. And some people even panic and say, oh, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm out of here. I'm not going to do it. So the first thing we do is get your nervous system feeling safer, knowing that this is a great opportunity. And we, with the neurotechnology, I want to make it kind of clear. We help you to remove fears from our past that are plaguing us today. Like you're talking about the mail because of that divorce. We help remove the resentments and the anger and the issues that have been getting in our way, possibly for our whole life. We're helping you actually get it out of the normal day-to-day functioning of your nervous system. Well, that's huge. Once you get there, then you can start to make some huge decisions on the kind of change that you want to implement.
Absolutely.
And then using the neurotechnology, we help you make that change in a compressed amount of time in an exponential fashion. So you're creating actually exponentially more nerves using that technology than you could on your own. And those nerves are how you change. And so we're helping you change how you feel and function at 2 to really 100 times the speed than you can on your own. And so that's why that's happening so fast.
So it would have taken me 100 years to get rid of not wanting to see the mail if I hadn't gone to Pathways.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe, maybe
No, but
another 5 or 10, but yeah.
but imagine it's 5 or 10 years of suffering. And this is something simple, but I know that you help people that have gone through major traumas, people with PTSD, suicidal thoughts. I mean, just heavy, heavy things. And I mean, I'm sure that you have to feel extremely proud of what you've created. And I know that you want to help so many, many people. And I'm so grateful that, first of all, that we are doing this live so we can share this with others, but also that you continue to push through, even through all the hardships, right? Of people understanding what this innovative, methodology is all about, and just kind of getting it out there for the masses to be healed, to be changed.
Well, as you can see with the technology today, that's not always easy. So
Yes.
we're going to keep showing up and doing the best we can to get the message out there that we have a fantastic system of helping people erase all the damages of the past, get into the present, and build the beautiful future that they've always wanted in their life. And I'm helping people, I mean, hundreds of people. I mean, every day we're helping people do this. It's a fantastic process. So I want to share the message. I'm so glad that you're getting out here, and I really appreciate you. You know, this is fantastic, sharing your personal story and let everybody know the opportunity that they have.
I'm ready to help out as much as I have to help out, because I think that's something this good that does so much good. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm all about conspiring for good. So anything that has this much impact and that can change lives in such a way, I am going to be for it. And just to answer the question in everyone's mind, because everyone's thinking, oh my gosh, Gloria found love. Who is it that she found? And I want to say, my friends know that I'm extremely private when it comes to who I'm dating and who I'm seeing. And I usually don't share it. But I am going to say that in this process, I have, and this might sound cliche and like tacky, but I have found myself.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's definitely a cause to celebrate. And I think that now I am more ready than ever to actually find true love, and to hopefully put this person through the program.
That's an idea.
Right? I think every couple should put themselves through this. Honestly, it's probably better than, marital therapy. But again, I am so grateful and thankful for this. I just let us know, where do our friends, how can they contact you? How can they come and experience this and be part of the family of happy, safe people around this world?
Well, you have to go to pathwaveslife.com, and there's a click for a free consultation. It'll take you to a calendar and allow you to schedule a consultation. Or you can call us at 305-858-6616. That's 305-858-6616.
And those that are watching online, obviously the contact information is there in the Pathwaves. And it's not pathway like a way, it's a wave like a wave of the ocean.
Path to better brain.
So Pathwaves Life. So thank you so much, Jeff, for this time. Big hugs.
We'll talk soon.
Bye to everyone.
Bye.
Ciao. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties, guys, but thank you for sticking through it, even with the crackling and the going in and out of the video and the noise, etc. But big hugs to all. We love you, and definitely be empowered through neuro empowerment with Pathwaves.
All right.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you.